When it comes to a stage in your life that you feel like giving up, I just want you to remember the energy you had those days when you started this. Anyway, my name is Manuel from Kata Studios. Today, I want to teach you how to make your website responsive. So you're going to learn how to make website responsive from the highest breakpoint to the lowest breakpoint. But before we get into responsiveness very quickly, I want to teach you just 2 tips that I use in building a website. So number 1 is when I want to build a website, I write down all the pages that I want to make. So whenever you make a website, you want to make a service page, about us page, a blog, and so on. Write them down according to how you want to make them. So usually you're starting with the header and the footer, then get into the home page. Now the second tip I'll be having today, while you write those down, is anyone you finish, you just cross-check them. Now the second stage, which is coming from the first one, is whatever you're doing, make sure you do not create another page until you are done with the responsiveness of the header, the inner content, which is the home page, and the footer. In this case, the home page is inner content in other pages. Now, make sure you make this page, this template, header, and footer responsive first before you start moving to the next section. Now, why am I saying that? If you see in a website, in most cases, you might want to pick a particular section to About Us. For instance, this particular section, I would like to put it in About Us. Now, imagine that I have created About Us page and I copied this because I have done it in the desktop breakpoint. And since I have done it in the desktop breakpoint, I could just move this into that particular page. Now, the problem is that after I'm done making this responsive, I will get back into that particular About Us page. I will have to make that page responsive too. I want to make this section responsive too. I have to pass through the whole stress I passed through this one. But then, if I had made all these pages responsive, I can just pick this and then go to a page, possibly services page under that, and I plug it in. Pick another section like this. I can plug this into About Us page, and so on and so forth. You get the point. So the idea, like this also, this is the podcast section. I can just plug it in, create a hero section, and then plug this in. These have actually created a different page called the podcast page. Now, why I want to use this, I have been making so many websites recently, and I just wanted us to get to the toughest one or a little more complex one before I teach you responsiveness. Because if I use the simplest one, you might come across issues like the one we are going to be facing in this one, and you may not know what to do. So I'm going to be using more of complex layouts to teach you responsiveness. We'll be bringing more responsive tutorial for subsequent lessons. This is the second responsive tutorial, though the first one was in a lesson in our course, so it's not available in the YouTube channel. So first off, write down all the pages you want to design. Next, make sure you make the home page responsive, header and footer responsive before you proceed to creating the rest of the page. By so doing, you reduce your stress by about 20% or so. I don't know. So let's get in and start making responsiveness. Now, first off, you may want to, this Elementor we are using, by the way, not Oxygen Builder, because we teach Oxygen Builder here and Elementor Page Builder, though we teach other page builders too, but we focus mainly on Oxygen and Elementor Page Builder. Now, you see these particular stuffs you see up here, they are called the device breakpoints. So the device breakpoints are the different ratios or aspect ratios you can find in different devices. So this one is assuming that we are using a desktop device, this is a laptop device, and this is a tablet device, and this is a mobile portrait device. Now, this doesn't recognize iPhone, Android, Tecno, Samsung. It doesn't recognize all of that. iPhone 15, iPhone, no. It's only picks a particular breakpoint based on the size, aspect ratios by pixels. So as you can see, this is 767 pixels, and this is the base size for at least phones of screen sizes of a standard level in a period of time. So the standard screen size is the one iPhone 13 Pro Max, iPhone 12 Pro Max, iPhone 14 Pro Max, 15 Pro Max, all Pro Max's sizes, and all Android devices that have the same sizes are assuming 767 pixels. Now, there are sizes that are less than that, but in aspect ratios, they are actually the same aspect ratio with this. Now, what this means is that a screen can be of a smaller screen size physically, but have a higher resolution and can compress content to work perfectly on it than a device with a larger screen size. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that's what this actually means. It's not actually talking about referring down to devices and their sizes physically and all of that. It's talking about the aspect ratios. I'm bringing a core course when I'll be teaching you guys the PC for designer, which PC you should choose as a designer. Then I'll be teaching you the difference between aspect ratios and resolutions. Okay. So now to add all these things, when you come to Elementor, you are going to find only the desktop, the tablet, and the mobile. So to add this extra one, laptop breakpoint, you need to click on the settings from over here. Just click on this. There, fine. So scroll down till you find this page called layouts. Okay, click on layouts. Scroll down. You're going to find these breakpoints. I don't know why they make this very difficult to find. So from this layout, you need to click on this. So for instance, we don't have the laptop breakpoints. Let me close that down. So all you need to do is click on the space here. Just click on it. And then you can pick the laptop from here. And then it is added. You get the point. Now, this is the laptop mobile breakpoint. This is the tablet breakpoint. And this is the laptop breakpoint. For instance, we put a wide screen breakpoint. By selecting on this, we'll have another breakpoint option for us here to customize for the wide screen. Now, let me explain this very quickly so you understand. We can further customize these sizes to what we want. So for instance, we want this mobile breakpoint to be 800 pixels. We can just impute that digit here and we have it at that particular size. But bear in mind, it will also affect the responsiveness of whatever you're doing. So just this is the standard layout. The tablet, the same thing applies. Then the laptop breakpoint, same thing applies. Once you're okay with all you have, you need to hit on save and wait for a little while for this to reload. You can hit on the reload button. So good. Now it's reloaded. You can notice something very awkward, that our contents here are not with the styles we designed it originally with. Why? Because this is not actually showing this particular display. It's not actually editing this homepage. It's editing the back end of the builder which we are using to edit this page. So this is actually not going to show the style sheet which we are doing this with. So to get back to the particular screen we are editing, just hit on the X button at the top side here. Just hit on this and allow it to reload, and we are going to get the screen that we deserve. So perfect. So now let's get in and start the work. So now let's make it responsive. Let's just do this quickly. There is no big deal in responsiveness, okay? I just want to make this very clear to you. If you have been afraid of making responsiveness, because that was one of the things that made me scared while I was starting up in this career. But then after a while, I realized that this is even the simplest and the most full part of web design. Okay, making your work responsive, it took me lesser time as I progress. Now, this is simple things you need to understand. Responsiveness is in most cases is all about elimination. Okay, elimination in the sense that you remove some things which you added, not practically removing the elements which you added like this, removing this. No, that's not what I actually am not an advocate of you removing the content because it didn't match. What I love is that you make it match because you added it in the desktop. You have to force it to work on mobile. It is very possible. Every layout can work perfectly well on mobile breakpoints. So the elimination method I am talking about is you removing the excess sizes, width, the excess thickness in a button, the size of a button, and all of that. That's the elimination I'm talking about. Reducing the sizes of all elements as appropriate to those particular breakpoints. And that's what we are going to do from here. So we're going to do the wide screen, which is desktop. We're going to do the responsive for laptop. We are going to do for tablet and then mobile. Now we have done already for the desktop, which is the one we built on. So we built it with a style, which means that while we are designing this particular one, we are actually making it responsive at once because it is just the breakpoint we are working on. Okay, though on our full course where I'm going to teach you how to build our website from scratch, we are going to learn that from the beginning, the responsiveness of a website for this particular one. But then let's assume that we have done that. The next breakpoint you want to get to is the laptop. So when you click on that, we need to wait for it to load, and we see the laptop space, and we see the space this covers, and you see the little issues you are having. There is no padding left and right. Whatever you are doing, make sure there is enough padding left and right. I'll give you a very quick tip now that you're going to use that is going to work for you perfectly well. Okay, on sections, the padding top and bottom for this, what I mean by padding top and bottom is, let me show you very quickly. So padding top and bottom is the space between these to the content, the space between this top side to the content, and the space between these bottom parts to the content. Okay, that's the padding. So when you select on that, you go to advanced, you're going to find the padding over here. So your padding should be within 110 to 120 or 130. That's perfectly fine for desktop breakpoint. Now I'm going to teach you how to cascade that down to the mobile and all of that. We're going to learn all of that, but that's not what I just want to talk about here. Okay, now this is a tip I want to teach you very quickly. So now whenever you're coming down to a particular breakpoint, you notice that some sections are shorter than the header or shorter than the other sections. Now the advice to this is that when you are on this desktop breakpoint, make sure the width of your container is 100%. Then there should be, okay, let me show you very quickly. Let me show you an instance. So whenever you're creating a new section, create a new section like this, create an empty one like this. This empty one now, make sure it is 100%. See what I'm doing? 100%. Now you're going to toss in a second container inside it. This is what our students in our professional class learn. And that second one, you are going to make it a full width, but this one, you're going to make it by percentage. You're going to make it by pixels, not percentage. And you're going to make this 1350 pixels. Make sure you select on the container section here. You make sure this is middle aligned and center aligned so that your content will be in the middle. So you see, we have our sections and content here. If you look, this matches with all of the content that I've been designing even previously before now. Look at the size and the space we have in here. So this is the appropriate size. If you go to laptop now, you will see that this size will collapse. And when this size collapse on laptop, let me show you very quickly. On laptop, the width of this thing shouldn't still be 1350 pixels. The width of that which is selected with automatically, you have to make it 900. This is the size that I have tested and it worked perfectly well, because before I was using percentage to design the layouts of my website. When I realized that it was a big problem in very ultra wide screen, because if it's on percentage, everything stretches out. So to keep everything in the middle, you use pixels. But when you start getting down to tablet now, this will switch automatically to percentage. Okay, now you're going to make this 90% on tablet. You see what we are doing? This is responsiveness for sections and sections layout. This is the most important part of responsiveness. Now you come to mobile, you're going to make mobile still 90. Some people like 85, but I like going with 90. And once you follow these particular rules, you are good to go. Okay, so on desktop, it houses that, giving it enough space here. On tablets, on laptop, it houses, giving it that same, almost that same space. And then on mobile, it switches to percentage and still maintains that almost that size. And then on mobile, see, just the idea is to make sure that there is enough space within your content in your container. Okay, so once we are done understanding that, we can close that. But there are then some sections that actually override that particular principle, which I'm going to be teaching you if time permits us today. So we close this down and we scroll up till we get to the next section. So now let's start from this one. We select on the laptop breakpoint. So from this, we have to start adjusting things. Number one is that this section have a padding left and padding right. What we are going to do in the padding right, we are going to remove everything here. In the padding right, we are going to leave it nothing. And the padding left, we can leave it at 30. Let's see how 30 works. 30 doesn't match close to what we have. Make sure that nothing is wider than the header and the footer of your container. Anything that you are doing in your website, the header section area, the content there, and the content at this age, their width should be the widest. Every other content coming after it must bear that particular width, size, or lesser, not more. Don't make your content wide like this. Let me show you. You see, this one now is wider than the header. Don't make this mistake ever. That is an aberration. That doesn't make sense. So make sure it's within that area or lesser than that area. We have fixed that one problem. And for heading text, sometimes your text might be longer like this and they can't contain it. They can't contain two in one. You don't need to reduce the size of everything, because when somebody visits this website, what they are seeing is this version, which is the desktop version, not this one. This laptop version you are seeing here is not actually laptop. This thing you are seeing here is actually this olden days screen that used to be square. The width and the height is equal. So this is the size you're going to be finding in that. Okay, as you can see it, you see it displaying in the screen. It's square like this and like this. So like almost nobody uses this size. So instead of discarding it, they allow it there, so it can also work for people who still live in the Stone Age, which I don't think that's very possible now. So now this is it. We have done the basic for this. The next thing, we need to reduce the size around this particular area. I think I did that with the margin. That is why you don't need to build with templates and themes. If you build with templates and themes, you don't know what you did, you will find it difficult locating things, and it will waste more time. And in most cases, those won't work because they are designed and edited with what we call child theme and all of that, which I don't even understand what it serves for. So from here, we can give it a 20 pixel all around, and you see we now have more space around this and allowing the image itself to shine. Coming down here, every other thing here looks fine for me. This also looks fine, this looks fine, this looks fine. Everything here looks fine for me. This looks fine as far as there are space between this, enough space. Okay, this should be 20 pixels within. So your container space, this, we call this gota. The gota is the space between this container and this container. So the space between there should be at least 20 pixels. It can be 40 pixels, 50 pixels, but then at least 20 pixels. Okay, so that space is enough for that first one. Then we get to this next section. In this particular breakpoint, we may need to reduce the size if we want to, or leave it as it is. Select on this container. No, this particular section, there's something we didn't do in the first breakpoint. So if you get content like this and you want them to be like sliding through to the other area where people don't see, make sure that there is no padding around the section. So we select on this section, go to advanced, and we clear out the padding. We call it unlinking. Unlinking means removing all the padding that comes with that particular section. Watch what happens. You see, it collapses. Now watch what happens to this Amazon. It goes to this edge. It doesn't have a space where it is avoiding anymore. So we have cleared that out. Then we get to the next breakpoint. It's going to cascade. Now, anything you do for the previous breakpoint is going to cascade down to the next breakpoint, except you altered that edit in that section. So for instance, we get back here to advanced and we say we want the padding of 20 pixels here. You see, we have altered that here, but if we get to the first section, it's still going to be as it was, which we did. So, but then we don't want that. We want it to cascade down. And we have the sizes of these elements, and we can go to this area, spacing, slide, show, speed. Let's go to styling. From here, minimum height, the logo's size, height of the logo size. Let's reduce it a little. Fine. We are good to go there. So scroll down, we get to this next section. Now, this is where we start reducing our size of our padding top and padding bottom. Remember, on this breakpoint, it was 125 or thereabout. But this time around, we are going to clear out all of these things. So instead of typing it just on link, if you try to type anything here, it is going to give the same size all around your container. We don't want to give any left and right padding because we want to use, look at what we want to do. Select on this. Go to layout. Let's even do that first. Go to layout, and here now, remember, we're going to do it 900 pixels. Fine. You see, everything is fine and sweet. So next thing we need to do is select on this padding top and padding bottom. We have to reduce it. Go to advanced, clear this out, then give it a padding top of your choice. But usually on this particular breakpoint, I usually advise 60 to 70 pixels. Okay, 60 to 70 pixels. But in most cases, let's think carefully. The padding bottom in most cases are higher than the padding top. In our next lesson, I'll tell you why that is. Let's not waste much time here. Why in just a short form is that when you are scrolling down, when you're leaving a particular page, you need more space to get to the next section visually. Okay, but I don't want to drive more deep into that. So now the next one, we need to make stuff here responsive. Like this text here, you see how it works. So we have to reduce the size of the text. Go over here. This is what I'm talking about. So you reduce the size, but make sure it matches what you want. This other one over here, we select and we reduce the pixels. Let's just give it a 16 pixel. Let's reduce it, and that is cool. The stars are okay. These are okay. Not everything. You must not touch everything. These texts are okay, but this area and this is not very okay for me. So what do we do here? Let's see if we can reduce the size of the icon or space between each and every one of them. Let's reduce space. Fine, it works. And this is not actually okay. It is. It's fine. Then the size of the icon, I want us to reduce it a little more. Perfect. Perfect. So we are good to go with that. The button still works fine somehow, but let's just continue. Scroll down, we see the padding top and padding bottom makes more sense. We do the same thing here. Padding top. Okay, first of all, go to layout and make sure it is 900 pixels. Fine. You see, responsiveness is not difficult. That is all you need to do all around until you get to the rest of the sections. Okay. Padding top, we give it a 60. Padding bottom, we give it a 70. Perfect. We are done with that one. Unless, except for the fact that we need to adjust the width of this container because it is assuming a lot of padding around it, making the content shrink too much. I don't want the content to shrink. So what we need to do is to reduce the padding around it. Let's give it a 15 since it started already. Let's give it a 15 and we copy the style, and we paste the style to the one that resembles it. Paste style, but we're not going to paste it here because if paste it here, this one is having a different style because it is only when you hover that it turns white. When you remove it, it becomes transparent background. So what we need to do is to select on it separately, select on this area, and then we make it 15 pixels. Perfect. You see, our size of our text is also working well. Size of other things are working well. Every other thing is working well. So let's go down to the next section. You see, we're having a problem here also that the text has shrinked. You don't leave anything. No stone should be left unturned. Don't forget this word I'm telling you today. No stone should be what? Left unturned. You have to what? Adjust this and make sure everything works well. The name itself is becoming too bold, or the space between the letters are too much. So what we need to do is to reduce the space between the letters. So reduce the space a little like this. And the text here is okay. The button here is okay. Every other thing here is fine. Then we scroll down to the next section. Make sure the padding, okay, we don't even need to do anything in padding top because this is a full width container with a full width image or a full width video. So it doesn't follow much of the rules. Okay, fine. So let's scroll down, but then it will follow the rule of 900 width. So we go over there, we give it a 900 and we go over to our advanced. You see, it is 900, but the left is assuming too much of space that we didn't give it. Why? Because if you go to advanced and see layout, you see that we gave it a left padding of 50 pixels. So we have to remove that so it can match with the size we have from the container above. Okay, so we are good to go. Let's scroll down. You see how we are doing it? It is very easy. Responsiveness is not a difficult thing. Very, very easy. Okay, in this section, we select on this. Do the same thing where we did to the other one. We give it a top of 60 and a bottom of 70. Perfect. And we are good to go with this one. Let's select and see if the width can assume that size. Let's give it a 900. And I think we also did the same thing we did to the other one. The left and right, top and bottom is okay. Okay, I think, okay, this is because this container, this content itself is taking a particular width that we can't actually tell it not to take because it is a content that is what fits in. It fits in because it's have more than one content in it. So you can't tell this particular 50 to be wider than it's supposed to be, then this one will be as smaller as this. You get the point. So if you want to adjust that in most cases, you can then adjust it. Let's see from the setting area. Okay, let's go to the content area. You can push this to the left. You see it? It's now assuming that width. You can also select this one and we can also push it to the right. You see? But then these ones in the middle now will look like Oluku. So we don't want them to look like Oluku, if you know what that means. So this time around, we just have to relieve them. Just leave them as they are. Make sure you understand the rule. The rule is that it shouldn't be what? Wider than the what? Assigned section width. It is within this assigned section width, so we are good to go. Okay, we don't have any problem. Come to the next one. This is the range of exclusive podcasts. The space between this is too much. Bottom part, so we have to remove that and reduce it a little more. Perfect. We go over here, and in the layout area, we want to make this 900. Perfect. What else? What else? What else? What else? Make sure you remove all the padding around container. Like this container, I see it's having padding. We don't want it. We don't want any padding because it's going to affect our work when we come to mobile. So when you notice it from the higher breakpoint, remove it so it can cascade down. You don't stress you much. So we clear out that. You see, jump skips it, and we are good to go. Now, what next are we going to do here? Remember, the padding top and padding bottom, don't forget that. Padding top and padding bottom is 100 here. So we make it top usual 60, bottom usual 70. Don't forget the simple rules, okay? It makes your work look like my work. Very simple. I don't want to go straight. I don't want to talk too much about that. So this, we also do the same thing, 900. And top and bottom, we already know what top and bottom should be. And top should be 60 and bottom should be 70. And we are good to go. These parts, we are good to go with this part, but then the space between this top content and the bottom one is too much. So what we need to do is to reduce. No, you're not reducing the size of the content. You are reducing the height. Look at the height here. Okay. I see some people do something like this. Something like this. Don't do something like this. Make sure it's almost close to each other. I will not tell you any size, though. I won't tell you any size. But use your sense because this size is varies. It varies based on font. Let me show you how it varies. This is exactly what we want. But if we increase the size of this font now, you see that this thing collapses. So I can't tell you that this is 49 pixel size you should use. When on a different size, it becomes another thing. Just use your sight. In this size now, we have to increase it a little more like this. But when we get back to that particular size we used before, you see what happens. So I don't follow rules in design. There's nothing like, don't follow all rules. There are rules that are not actually meant to be. Just forget about them. Make sure you use your sights. Think like a human and actually make it work out. The padding around this container, we want to remove it. So select on that, go to layout and unlink the container. What else do we want to do here? This area, we want the content to be full width. So we go to this area. Instead of making it, we make it full width here. Instead of making it 100%, you can just make it 100% full width to collapse and it will be good. Now, we have to select on this section and give it a gap in between these two elements of 20 pixels. So select on that container because we should have a container guiding all of these things. That's what we are building. So that's a mistake I made before now. Pardon me for that. So if we had that container, we should have been controlling this thing from the container. But since we don't, we have to do it from the section, which is the wrong way of doing things. Okay. So first off, add a section, add a container before you start adding other containers to what that will house other things. So from here, we're going to give it a gap of 20 pixels. No, not that one. We are doing it in the wrong one. We have to do it in the section. So go there. See, it is a size of 10 pixels. We want to give it a 20 pixel size and we are good to go with that. Coming down here, everything here seems okay for me. Everything here seems okay for me. Everything here seems very okay. We scroll down, get to the next section. We select on this and layout size, give it 900. And we get to advanced. Now, do you know why I love what we are doing now? Because whatever we do here now, it makes our work easier in the next breakpoint. So we are going to spend, if we spend 10 minutes in this, we're going to spend 5 minutes in this, and we're going to spend like 3 minutes in this. I'm going to show you how. So this one, you clear this out, and the top side, we give it a 60, bottom, we give it a 70, and I think we are good to go with this one, except for the text size, it's okay. So we go back to this other one. We do the same thing. We give it a 900. Okay. At the top and bottom, we already know what it's supposed to be. Top 60, bottom 70. You see how formful this is? Select on this element is giving it too much of gap between this. So we select on it and we remove all of that and just add it a little. Just a little is okay. The text here are too bogus. I don't like it. So we have to go over to styling and scroll down till you see client designation, no, description, I think. Then we go to the text size and reduce it to what we want. I think this is okay. Then this also have to be reduced because it's becoming too big. So reduce it a little more, fine. Just one line is okay like this. Perfect. So right now we get to the next breakpoint, which is the what? Tablet portrait. I see things actually cascade in a way that they are supposed to be. On tablet, we can't have that image by the right. So on tablet, in most cases, you can expand this thing bottom part a little more. You see where I'm expanding, expand it down a little more and you are good to go. Now let's start our work. So the first one here is the space between this. The space at the top side is too much. So we have to reduce that very well. Reduce it, reduce it, reduce it, reduce it. I think this is okay. 100 is okay. And we need to do the same thing we did here, but this time around we are going to be doing this in percentage. So we switch this to percentage, and here we're going to give it a 90% width. We have given it 90% width, but we have to go to advanced and remove all the left and right pattern that have been added previously, so we can get accurately the 90% width as we are getting from the header. You see the header is now equal with this, perfectly equal. So in this part, this detail here, we might need to increase the size of the text as the case may be, okay? And this one over here, we need to reduce the width. The container beneath every header shouldn't be longer than the header itself, okay? If you have a header and you have a content beneath it, that's the body text, make sure it's within that area. To do that, go to the custom width and adjust the custom width to be within that particular area. It shouldn't be above that, okay? Now in the style, this particular text is too small. I think we can clear this off so I can assume the size of the previous breakpoint. You understand that? Or you impute the digit yourself. After we're done with that, this particular one, the space top and bottom is too much. line height is too much, so let's reduce the line height a little and we are good to go. This one, the space between this content and the button is too much now. Before it wasn't too much, but now it's too much because of the lesser breakpoint you are going. So clear this out and we can give it a 60 from over here. The button here are okay, button left and right are okay, the sizes are okay. Then in these parts, I don't really think this is really okay. Now let me show you something very quickly. If you come to mobile breakpoint, you're going to notice something very quickly. See that this actually cascades here and it gives us what we call overflow. The space we get from here when we are scrolling through a website it is geoterrain or making this kind of effects, giving enough white space is called overflow, and it is caused by a size of a container assuming a space outside the specified space is given, possibly because of what margin left or margin right, and these spaces are usually above 100%, so it goes beyond what it's supposed to be. That is why we get stuff like what I just mentioned now, which is what the overlapping, or we call it overflow. You can still need to adjust this so you can have more space to do your mobile responsiveness. So let's go back to that one. Why I'm showing you that in case we don't meet that issue there, but we may meet it. So we select on this, go to advanced. You see we have margin of this particular size. We clear this out. We don't need that margin anymore. We don't need margin anymore. And from here now, we need to give it a height, okay, according to what we want. From here, we give it a height in pixels. Can expand the height to what we want till it gets to the image size we used before. Fine. The border radius is too much. The curve here, the curve, it was okay in that particular tablet and mobile, but then here is too much. So click on border radius, and from here we'll give it 18. Let's see that. That's okay. When you want to see it, you can click on that element and see it very well. So we are good to go. Border radius is okay now. And this container have a content inside it, which is giving it a margin bottom, padding bottom of a size which is too much. So we can reduce it a little more here, so you can come closely to the content next to it, so they can see that they are brothers and sisters. So we select on the section guiding everything. That's where we can add a padding bottom if we want to add a padding bottom. So from there, we give a padding bottom of whatever size we want. We can make this 60 also. Since it's the header, let's just give it a 60, and that's good. And this particular section have already fixed itself for us, so we don't need to do anything because of the responsiveness we did in the previous one. In this particular area, we want this image to be full width. So go to this image, go to sizes, in the width, make it 100%. Okay, then select on the section. Usually you go to layouts, and from here switch this to percentage, and then from here we make it 90. Now all the sizes we are making here now, if we get to mobile breakpoint, we don't need to make it again because this 90 will now cascade down. So we don't need to touch anything that have to do with padding left or padding right or width of any section, for the fact that we have done it in this one. So since we have done that, we need to select that section also. Go down. You see, we are not having space in between this anymore. Let's see if there's any section guiding the both of them. No section guiding the both of them. And now, why is this assuming too much of space? More than what it should have assumed. Let's go to advanced and check out something. See, because we are having a margin size that we are not supposed to be having here. So clear out everything. Make sure you clear out everything and make sure everything stays as it is. So now it's not assuming the accurate size it should assume. So whenever you need to meet such issues like that, when we are having excess space, make sure you go back and clear out the error from there. Then you see that the issue will be fixed. Every other thing here is okay, except for this top text that I need it to be lesser than 70 pixels. Okay, and I need this to be wider than it. Remember, the bolder text should never be shorter than the smaller text. So something like this is okay. So for this one, the size of the stars are too much. That is why they are having a wrong cascade. So reduce them a little. I think this is even okay. Then in this one, let's see something. Go to advanced, custom size. It is 74%. No, we want to give it a 50%, 50%. So which means this one will take a 50%, and the stars will also take a 50%. It's telling it inline. Why will it inline? It's custom size. Let's give it a 50. Not pixel. Whenever you have this issue, you did percentage and it's smaller, just make sure you switch this back to pixels. percentage. So we'll go back to this particular style settings, and we can now increase the size of our star rating. After that, every other thing here is okay. Scrolling down, everything, almost everything here is okay, except for this one, which the text is what we need to work on. So the text here, we have to reduce the size of the text, reduce it until it matches. No, let's increase a little. We have to reduce the space between them. So go to the list, space between the lists, reduce it like we did in that other one. Why are you being stubborn? Okay, so now this particular section, make sure you remove all the padding around it. So go to advanced, and also now these things we are doing, removing the padding around each container, is why we are doing so is, you see this kind of case now, it is now taking up space that we didn't give to it. So relieving that particular space is okay, so that I can give our container or content more breathing space. But if we don't do that, another problem we're going to face is that we come to mobile, this little space here, which is 5 pixels, counts. Whenever we give a 20 pixel size, it's going to count. So we go in here and close it out. Watch what happens when we close it out. See, the content now cascade because it's now having more space to breathe or breathe. So now we get to this section. The top side should be 60 pixels and the bottom side should be bottom should be 70 pixel. Top can be 60 pixels. Fine. We scroll down and we get to the next section. You see this next section now, we are having an issue. See, the content itself cannot accommodate themselves. They can't. They can't. Now, if this was 4, it is okay for us to do it 2 top and 1 at the bottom. But since it's not 4, let's force it in. So we go to this area. At the top side, we give it a size of 60 as usual. And the bottom side, we give it a size of 70. And then in this container guiding, all of these ones, it's in flex box. In this container, go to layout size, the gapping. What is giving this excess gapping than this? Let's make this a 0 gapping and see. Perfect. You see, it works well, but I still don't understand why it's having excess gapping. So let's select each of these container and see if they have padding left or margin left. You see, they have margin right. So we clear out all margin rights, select on this also. Let's see if it have margin right. We clear it out. We don't want any margin right. You have margin left also, clear it out. So instead of giving it margin left and right, select on the container guiding everything, go to layout and make sure you give it from here. Just give it 10 pixels and we are good to go. 10 pixels, what is the size here? Select on that container. Let's go to advanced and see if it have margin left and right. It doesn't. So why is this not taking up enough space? So let's see from here. Padding is okay. Everything is okay from here. Okay. Okay, let's go to layout area. This is at 100%, which is normal. So select on this container or content area. Go to layout left and right. It should be in pixels, in percentage, and we are going to give it a 90%. Fine. So we've given it a 90%. Let's select on this container. I don't like this extra space it's having here. I don't like it. It's not even equal. This one is wider than this particular area. And we don't even want it at all. We want this, our content, to have more breathing space. So let's select on the first container and see the width. Oh, this is the problem. Okay. So the width is 30 pixels here. This should be 33.3. Let's just call it 33 pixel. This also should be 33.3. That's the division. 33. And this last one should be 33.3. This one, I think, 33. Okay, so as we did it all of that, we go to advanced area. The margin, we don't want anyone at all to have margin. Don't want anyone at all to have margin. Go in there. Okay, bottom, everything is okay. Let's check this one also. Everything, okay, right. You see, this one is having a right of 15 pixels. We clear that out also. So now in this case, what we need to do from here is that in most cases, why I prefer Oxygen against Elementor is that in this particular case actually is that whenever you're giving a size to Elementor, it doesn't actually assume to calculate it for you. So even if you calculate at 3.3, it's not going to work. Why it's not going to work is because that 3.3 is going to also calculate this gap we gave here, but Oxygen Page Builder will automatically calculate that space for us. It will not stress us at all. So which means this one now we have to make it like 32 or 31. You see, before it can start working. So let's make it 32 here, divide it by 3. So we have 3 pixels left. So come over to this one, make it 32. You see it's now working. Come over to this one and make it 32. So we are good to go. So it's now collapsing and we have everything as we want it. Every other thing is okay. Images are okay. Padding around, the contents are okay also. So we are done with that. So in this particular one, we also need to fix this one. Select on it. You go to this part. We want to make it a percentage of 90 and make sure it's on percentage. And you see it's having an advanced size of left 40. We have to clear that out. We don't want that. We did that because of the previous design we did from the desktop breakpoint. Okay, coming down here, everything is almost okay except for the padding button, which I don't really like. Bottom padding is 80, whereas it's supposed to be 70. And the top is 20. Why is it 20 and is still that wide? Why is it 20 and it's still that wide? Okay, let's just make it 30-60. Fine. So scrolling down, we get to this section, and this section looks almost fine, except for the top side should be 60 and the bottom side to be 70. And the width all around it should be, layout size here should be on percentage. Fine. And then we make this 90%. Cool. So we are getting there. We are almost there. So let's finish this all at once. So we get to this part, and the top side we make it 60 and the bottom part we make it 70. We don't even want any padding left and right. So anywhere you see padding left and right, you clear that out previously before, because from the other container section. Then the width here, we want to make it 90%. So make sure you switch this to percentage. And here we make it 90. Perfectly fine. Make sure that there is no gap between your contents, container. Perfect. So now we select on the styling and we increase the size of the font a little more. And every other thing from here is okay. Everything here is okay. Everything here is okay. Everything here is okay, except from the size of this button is being too far from the other content. So we clear that out and give it a 30. 30 space is okay. So 30 should be the space between your content and the buttons on this particular breakpoint. Okay. So scrolling down this part, I find it unsettling because it's not accurate. The width is not accurate. It's not matching with the one I have at the top. So let's check it out. I knew something was wrong. So clear this out and also clear this one out. And we are now centered it. So scrolling down, everything here is okay, except from this section that I may want to move up a little more. No, this particular image, I want the border radius to maintain the size which I applied for the other one, which is around 20, and we are good. Scrolling down, we are good to go with that one. Select on this, go to layout size, and this should be on percentage 90, and we check if there is any gap around it. We go to advanced and then remove all of that padding. This one is okay, but the space from there is too much, so we select on it, bottom, reduce it a little more. The space gap at the top should be 60, top 60 and bottom 70. Remove all padding left and right. We don't need all of that. Fine. So in this case, we have this content as 3. But what we can do here is this. In this particular breakpoint, we can select on this element and we make sure that this element is 2 per column, not 1. So we make it 2 per column. 2 like this per column. You see, it's better that way, but we make the content in general 4, not 2 anymore. So we scroll down and find where we can find that. Let's see on settings, sections, column post. Okay, you have it here. So we make this 4. Let's wait a little more. When I'll be teaching you blogging, I'll teach you better tools, and I'll teach you how to build out this layout, this dynamic content customly. Do it yourself. Do very nice ones. The space is not that bad, so let's still manage it. Just that I like things to be almost perfect. So here we switch it to percentage and we give it a 90%. Okay. And in the 90%, this container, we scroll down until we get the description. Typography is too large. Let's reduce it a little more. Perfect. Here, what the client say about us, we have to reduce the font a little more. And the space, we have to, padding bottom, we have to draw it a little more close, not that it's too close, a little more close, okay? Then we select on this content, make sure that the padding bottom is equal with what we want. So everything here is okay now. So we scroll up and we are done with the responsiveness of this. Finally, we are down to the final one, which is the easiest one that is going to take lesser time for us to do. So select on it, go to percentage area, make it 90, and it's good. 90 is cool, I think. The space at the top, we have to select on the container itself, click on this, and the top side, reduce it a little more. Then select on these elements. While you are designing mobile, make sure you have your mobile phone right by your side. Sometimes what you are doing here is not perfectly exactly as it is. Sometimes the fonts might be smaller, but it's larger here. So make sure you have your mobile device around you while you do your testing. Okay? So this one, we can reduce the size a little. This is okay for what I want it for. This one, the width should be 100%. So go over here and make it 100%. The text size should be around 16 to 17 pixels. 16 pixels is okay. This is okay also, except for this one. Go to this area and the left should be a little more closer to each other. Fine. Then this side, the button should be cascade vertically, but there is something we need to do. Select on this button and watch very closely. Click on this and make sure you click this option that says what? Position, let it be what? Stretched. Go to advanced. From here, make it 100%. That's just what you need to do. Okay? Selecting only one of these wouldn't fix the problem. So select on this also, go over to this one. We make it 100%. Nothing happens. It only stretches the container of the button, but not the button. So we have to go back to the settings and then we stretch the button itself. So we have the first button stretch, second button stretch. This is how it's supposed to be in your what? In your layout on your hero section. Scroll down. Everything is perfectly fine from this particular area. Fine. I like it. No, we have to reduce the size of this because the image we are using is actually horizontal. So we can even change the image if you want to. Just click on this, switch the image from here if you don't want the same image. If you want a different image for mobile, different image for desktop, just select a different image from here. You don't need to do anything. No abracadabra. So from here, we have to reduce the size so it can match and we can see at least most of the people that are in the screen. Something like this is okay, I think. Then the padding bottom is too much. Go to advanced and bottom part, we have to reduce it a little more like this. I think that's okay. Then we scroll down, everything is okay from here. We click on this particular area. Padding top is okay for me, but this particular content image is now cascading left too much and it's giving us an extra space which we call overflow also. You see what is going on there? By the way, I told you earlier that before you start designing, make sure you adjust this also so you can see more of the space. You don't need to scroll forever to edit. So we select on this and now destroy that same thing we destroyed in that previous breakpoint. Cancel it out. You see, everything is now working perfectly well. You see, we are not having any issue at all. No issue at all. Scrolling down, this is okay, but then it is too close to that particular element. So we give it the bottom spacing, a little more bottom margin. That's what I will call that. Then from here, we select on this element and we increase the size a little more like this is okay. And that featured books is fine. Let's see. Did you give this padding? We haven't. So give it a 90. Okay. And make sure that it doesn't have a padding left and right. You see, it has. So we clear this out and we also clear this out and we are good to go. Scroll down, everything is neat. You see, when you have a little more space here, your content looks very sweet and nice. So scroll down, and this particular area, I want it to be in the same line. I am very stubborn, by the way, in these cases. So I still want it to be in the same line. So we go to the text area. We have to reduce the text this time around. Sorry about that. And then the space between elements is okay, but the space between the icons is not okay. So let's go to listing. Space between element is okay. Then let's go to icon. The gap between the icon is not okay, but it's still not giving us what we want. Still not responding perfectly well. Adjust vertical positioning. Vertical position is okay. Let's get to text and see. And everything is okay from here. I don't like that space, and I don't like the fact that we don't have the opportunity to do that. This one is perfectly okay, as you can see. So I think this is a bug, okay? It's a bug that we have the space here indifferently, but we have a different size in here. It's a bug, and it's have applied, and this is actually perfect in the front end. Let me show you very quickly. So this website, what we need to do is to click on this option, which I have made a tutorial previously on this particular tool on how to view your device in different breakpoints. So we click on that to view it on an Apple device. Let's see how it works. So let's just scroll down to that particular breakpoint. See how neat our work looks. Perfect. You see, everything is working and everything is okay here. I just wanted to show you so you see that that was a bug, okay? It's working perfectly well. That's why I say have your device right by your side while you do your editing. This look very neat. This layout look very, very neat. So let's proceed. So this one is okay, except for the padding button from that section, which we need to give a little more space. So padding top and padding bottom should be around 60 also. Let's scroll down and see. 60 is okay. So 60 top, 60 bottom. The same thing applies to this one. Padding top 60, padding bottom 60. Now left and right, we don't need any padding left and right, so we clear that out. And the layout area, we make this 90%. Fine, everything is now centered and sweet. In this area, we don't want the gap in between all of these things is too much. So the gap in top, left and right is too much. No, it's too much. So let's link all of this to 40 and then let's make everything 20. 20 is okay. Let's do the same thing from here. We link everything up and we make one of them 20. Applies to all. We can then copy this style instead of wasting that time and paste the style here. If it was Oxygen, the style will cascade down to everyone bearing that particular class, but it's no problem. We'll still manage. So we select the container guiding everything. See, I've selected this container to select all the container guiding. It didn't select it. So this is where we may need to open our structure panel. To open the structure panel, you click on this, and then you can go to the section above it. Click on it. See, we have gone to the section above it. What we want to do here is to remove the gapping. The gapping is too much. The gap we have from here is too much. Let's make it 0 from here. And you know why it is 0 and it's doing like this? Because the container, if you select on this container, it should have a padding bottom. Bottom, you see 30 over here. So that 30, we want to remove it. Because we want to still do the same thing with this one. Advanced, 30 bottom, we want to remove it. Let's see the last one if you have a bottom padding. Okay, these are the padding that it has that was giving us issue in that previous breakpoint. And we didn't even notice. You see, that's why you need to go back to everything you are doing and check out everything clearly well. So go to container guiding everything now. In the layout area, we need to give it a 20 pixels spacing between all elements. Scroll down and we are good to go from here. So in this area, we have a container at the bottom and we have a container at the top because we needed this to actually create this layout where this one will be at the left and this one will be at the right. But in this case, we have to revert it. Reverse styling means we have to select on the section guiding everything, go to layout. And in this area now, we need to click on this one that says row reverse. So row reverse, we put the other one at the top and then put the main one at the bottom. Now we need to start styling things. The text area, we can reduce the size if we want to, reduce the size of the font. And also the height need to be reduced a little more. I need to drink water right now. So from over here, we need to make this 15 so it can be smaller. Then the padding around everything, go to advanced and padding around it, let's make it 20 so we can actually accommodate more content. So from the styling, we need to make this one 18 or 17 is okay. Every other thing is fine from there. Let's see the section. Bottom padding should be 20 or thereabouts. So scrolling down this particular area also, this content are just 1, 2, 3, 4. I may not like it that way. I may just want this content to be 2, 2, 2, 2. You get the point. So let's see what we can do from there. So from there, we need to go to advanced. Then in this advanced area, we don't need to be full width. What you need to do is to click a custom size from here. And from the custom size, we need to give each and every one of them a 50%. So we can copy this style and paste style, just giving them 50% each, paste style, 50% each, and paste style. Still didn't fix the problem because it's supposed to what? Arrange itself accordingly. So now what we need to do is to give it a 45%, 45, copy style, paste style, paste style, paste style. Still didn't fix the problems. And from here, if we want to fix this, if we had these things in a container, it would have worked perfectly well. A section can't do what we are trying to do. If it was in a container, all of these things will have automatically controlled themselves. Let me show you what I mean by that. So we pull in a container here. Okay, we put this content inside it. We don't even need to do much. You see, it's automatically have adjusted itself. Click option and duplicate. It will automatically adjust itself. All we need to do is select on this container and tell it to what? Cascade right. Simple. And the more we what? Duplicate, the more all of them will what? Keep cascading accordingly. You see, we are going to have this one duplicate. It's going to cascade accordingly. You see, so this is one way to fix the problem. Make sure you drop a container first before you. There are things that sections can't do, like this thing now we are facing here, but I'm not going to waste our time in that. This is the second way to do it. Select on the section itself that is guiding everything, and you make it, instead of a flex box, you make it a grid. Okay, if you convert it to a grid, you can now tell it how many content you want to be in a particular area. It can now cascade. This is the second way to do it. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of guide, but this is not what we want to do. We have the content. Everything is okay. See how? Don't mind that it's only one. It's only one because it is actually a bug, like I said earlier. Okay, sometimes you design, you need to refresh your page before you continue. So you do your responsiveness, you need to refresh your page, then you continue. Okay, when you are doing work, don't forget, I made a mistake. You're supposed to be saving. Okay, I didn't make that mistake. I saved and we checked the website a few moments ago. Okay, make sure anytime you do finish a particular responsive breakpoint, publish your work, and then you can proceed again. Okay, so in this one, we select on this, and in the width, which is 100%, we have to make this 90% as usual. Every other thing here is okay. Every other thing here is okay. This one, we need to select and do the same thing. Go to layout area, make the width 90%. And this text from here, select on it. And the line height, reduce it. This is what we call line height. Okay, reduce it. Then here now we can reduce the text so that the text can be one line. If you want it to be one line, if you want it to be 2 line, leave it 2 line, no problem. It's still nice. The name is supposed to be bold, and that's okay. Every other thing here works fine for me, even the button, except for the buttons. We may have made mistakes in some cases. Like this case, we want to make the button full width. So select on this and make sure the button is full width. Every button on mobile should be full width. Every button. I forgot to mention that. Every button from mobile should be full width, and this button link should be Ctrl-A, copy, should be also in the header. Get our latest book, should have a link, which I didn't add. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Fine. Every button should have what? A full width. And this particular area should have a button too. So let's find a button and give to it. Let's find a very nice button and give to it. Okay, let's give it this button. We copy this button and we scroll down and we paste it here. Okay, let's paste it here. We drag it down. It's supposed to be at the bottom part of this container. Let's just drag it down from here. That thing is trying to be a troublemaker for us. So we can drag this container. Okay, expand this container SoundCloud. We add it inside of that container. It's not inside of that container. Add it there. Fine. Then we put the SoundCloud at the top of it. It will now be at the bottom part. So fine. So we select on this, go to the top and give it a margin top a little, because you need to space a little from there. So from here, we can now say listing to more podcasts. Okay, so here now we'll put the podcast link, which I don't think we have created. We don't have a podcast. So when we create the podcast page, we are going to copy this particular podcast link and put there. Then we'll remove this button when we paste this particular section in that page. Don't forget that. But this one now is here to lead people from homepage to the podcast page in case there are more other design you want to do there. Then this one, go over here. You see, some of the things you need to fix are on mobile that you notice it. It's not even when you are building the website. It's on mobile. While you are building the mobile breakpoint that you notice all of those things. Some of them. So select on this image also, go to advanced, and right and left, we don't want anything like that. No margin, don't want it. Then right and left padding, do we want right and left padding? Let's leave it like that. Go to layout area. This is in a particular VH. Do we want this on VH? Let's reduce the size a little more. I'm not a good fan of VH on mobile. So don't use VH on mobile, okay? Use pixels on mobile or percentage. Especially on height, don't use VH. It is dangerous. Sometimes it starts making your website start jumping. See that cases your website do. I will bring a course on that. So I will clarify you very, very well. So go to the container, guiding everything. Go to the layout. It's having a gap of 20 pixels. But first off, let's check on this particular section and see if it's having a margin bottom. Margin bottom of 50, I think, brother, that's too much. Okay, so that is overwritten, and this particular one is okay, except for it seems that this section have a padding left and right. I knew it, left and right, because it's becoming too much. Fine, the image is now adjusted as I want it. Perfectly fine. See this, when you scroll up, it blurs out and it scrolls up. I'm going to be teaching you how to do that also in the future. In nearest future, by the way. So go to advanced. Padding bottom should be 60 also. So mobile padding bottom, padding top and padding bottom can be equal, or padding bottom should be slightly above it. Like 70 also is okay. If we make this 70, it's not bad. Okay. So select on this, and the padding top is it too much because we are having extra layer? It's too much for me. Okay, fine. So we select on that, go to layout area, and the width should be 90%. Fine. And this particular content now is no more going to assume this size anymore because it's not going to work. It can never work. So we make it 1 per row. Okay. So we scroll down, everything here is working perfectly fine, except for the bottom padding. You have to give it a little more space. I am still trying to figure out why this. Okay, now I understand why that is like that. So we select on this section, go to advanced. You see we are having a minus bottom pad margin, which is not supposed to be there. So we clear it out. Watch what's happening. You see we have a space bottom padding of about 60 pixels, and it's becoming small. And I noticed that from the previous breakpoint, and I just overwrite it with just adding more. But now I have noticed what the problem is. So clear this out, and you see that the problem is fixed. You see it? So don't run away from problems. Try to fix problems. Okay? Try to fix problems. Try to fix problems. You have enough time to do that work, that project. Take your time to do it. Okay? We are done. And I think we are good to go. Everything here is perfectly fine. Make sure your text, body text, make sure your body text are within 17 pixels, 16, 17 pixels. I usually like 17 pixels. Okay? All your body text, 17 pixels. When you are done making responsiveness, go back and check your body text. All of them must be what? 17 pixels. We go into this one. Description. Go to the text, 16. We make it 17. Copy the style. And this one, the heading text itself is too small. So let's do something about that. The title itself is too small. So let's do something about that. Okay. I think this is okay now. We click option, copy. And we paste style, and we paste style. So give it a little time. If you have a slower network, it's going to take a little time to propagate or populate. So we are good to go. So go to the next one, select it, and make sure that the text is within 16 to 17 pixels. 17 pixels is okay for me. Still do the same thing from here, but in most cases heading text is usually the highest, should be that 17, even 18 in most cases, depending on the style you want to do. The button here, I may want them to be very thick and large, a little more, because they are the main call to action button. So we increase the size of the button text a little more. 18 pixels is okay. Let's reduce that a little more. 17 pixels. Go to button. The button size 17 pixels is fine. So we click on save and publish our work so that we can check it from the front end. The other buttons can be okay like that. It's no problem because there are other kind of buttons and their text might be larger. I think everything is fine. We're gonna check it on mobile now and see how it works, because the mobile is actually the reason why we are doing everything that we are doing. So here we go. Okay, so we test out our stuffs. Like the buttons are really working fine. This is the rituals buttons. I will also teach you how to do this, so you don't have to create a contact us page. The menus is working perfectly fine. And we scroll down, the buttons are perfectly bold and nice. All of the layout are okay. See the layout size. See how sweet and smooth everything looks. Very interesting. Very interesting. See this section I talked about before now? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Perfect. Perfect. And we have not gotten to the footer, so I'm not going to scroll down there. Everything is looking unkept from here. So fine. So this is practically it. There is no big deal in responsiveness. Once you make your work like this, your work will look exactly like my own work. Okay? And you are going to impress your client by what? Making sure their contents are more responsive on breakpoints that people visit the more or the most than the others. If you like this particular tutorial, you can give it a thumbs up, and also watch at least twice for this so it can get into your head. You can understand those principles. You can even watch more than twice to understand it very well. Might take a little longer time for me to provide a particular tutorial like this again. So, but then watch this again and again. You understand every basic thing. I intentionally use this complex one, not a simple one, because you understand the complexity we face in arranging or rearranging content as they are. Okay, arranging and rearranging content over and over again and so on. But then in your own project, it might even be lesser. Okay, it might be lesser than that. Now, to fix this problem, what we might do is, you see, it's having what we call widow content. Widow content is when we have just one content at the left, because we have already applied. But some of the tools I use, they won't apply this on a higher breakpoint because we did it in the lesser breakpoint. It shouldn't apply here. But some tools are just that way. So to fix this, all you need to do is to go to settings, and from here, instead of making it 4, here we're going to make it 6. So 6 is going to count well on mobile and also count well on tablet and also count well on desktop, because it's now going to be 2 top, 2 bottom, and 2 to the last one. It's still the same thing. You can just play around. So that's practically it, guys. And till I meet you next time, if you have any question, drop in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed yet, we're bringing more courses like this. I'm teaching you guys how to create complex layouts like this, more complex layout than even this, okay, in the future. You can subscribe if you want to. You can also share to your friends if you think this will actually help them. Till we meet again, my name is Manuel from Kata Studios.